This video is about making a swirl drawing. A swirl drawing is when you just use a pencil or a pen and relax into making some very loose and gentle loops. So I'm using a colored pencil so it will show up on camera, and I'm just making some large wide loops, trying to use up as much of the paper as I can. And I find this really relaxing, especially when we're all under some extra stress. And I try to bring my pencil back to the beginning. And now I have this wonderful loop drawing, and I have some choices. I could fill each section of my loop drawing with a different pattern, or I could choose to color my loop drawing. Today it's a pretty day outside. I've moved outside and I'm just going to start coloring. So find yourself some crayons or some markers, maybe some colored pencils, or you might even have some paint. And you can start to fill in your colors along with me, and we'll just color together for a little while. Maybe you can hear the birds that are feeding in the bird feeder nearby. I'm not really paying much attention to which colors I'm picking up because I'm just trying to relax into a drawing to see what happens. Sometimes it's fun not to think about it too much and just see what comes out. You definitely don't want to be scribbling though. You want to do a good job of filling in the spaces. This is a pretty big space, and I need to think about what I want to do with a space that large. I want to remind you that I don't try to move my crayon throughout that whole space at one time. That would get pretty messy. So you can see I'm just marching along the top of the shape and taking small strokes as I go along, and it fills in the shape pretty nicely. If my hand gets tired, I can change direction. But you want to build up stamina in your hand because your hands are going to do a lot of things for you in your life, and you need to exercise those just as much as you exercise everything else for Mrs. L when you go to PE. Looks like I have some pine needles underneath my paper. So I'm almost done with this pink section. Maybe you're working on a different section of the loop drawing that you made while you're coloring along with me. Now as I look at my drawing, I could just keep filling in colors, but I'm starting to think about what I might see in the drawing. Are there any shapes in my abstract drawing that remind me of real things? So as I color, I'm looking around my drawing for shapes that might remind me of something. I'm still waiting for inspiration, so I'm still relaxing, just picking up the different colors and seeing what they look like next to each other. I'm noticing over on the right-hand side of my drawing, there's a big loop. It reminds me a little bit of a snake. And I think I'm going to try turning that into a snake just to see what will happen. And even though I've been doing smooth, flat color, I think I'm going to switch over now and do a little bit of texture. So I'll change the kinds of lines that I'm doing from lines that have been smooth to lines that have a little bit more pattern to them. I'm making my lines come out from this round shape, kind of like you might do the rays of sun. if you were making a drawing of the sun. And now that I've found this snake, I'm wondering what else might be in there. Of course, I'm often thinking about donuts, so I notice that the snake is curled around a shape that reminds me of a donut. So I think I'm going to turn it into one. And I think it's going to be a chocolate frosted donut because that sounds delicious. And maybe this snake is going to share it with me, maybe not. Maybe the snake is guarding the donut and I have to battle the snake to get the donut away. It's fun to make up stories while you're drawing. What else do I see? Well, I'm going to put a little tan donut color in here. This donut looks like it has a bite taken out of it. There's some big shapes along the bottom. And if I look at it for a moment or two, I start to notice right around in here that I see some things that look like they might be eyes and a mouth. So I'll show you what I'm seeing. I'm just going to take these two loops and turn them into eyeballs. And maybe if I leave a big highlight at the top, those eyeballs might be looking over at the snake. And then that very gentle bow underneath those eyeballs reminds me of a mouth, almost like a fish. So I'm wondering if I could turn this into a fish. Do you see one yet? I might be able to make it more obvious if I put some lines in the fins. And even though those two things aren't the same size, if I put the lines in them like that, they'll look like they belong to the same creature. I can take advantage of some value by coloring lightly in the same color of crayon. This is turning into kind of a weird drawing, isn't it? I've got some plain shapes, I've got a snake, I've got a donut, and now I have this big fish. And when I sat down to make this loop drawing, I was not thinking about any of these things. But the nice thing is, I'm not thinking about any of the things that were bothering me before I started drawing either. I'm just feeling pretty peaceful, sitting outside, listening to birds and coloring. I can make the underside of his mouth a little bit darker, even though I'm using the same crayon. Now I still have a few spaces that I haven't really turned into anything. Oh, looks like I might be able to make this another fish up here, right where that bite of the donut was. And in this last spot, I think I'm just going to go for a plain color. I think I found all the things that I could find. So try your hand at a relaxing drawing like this and just see what comes out. Please take a picture of it and send it to me because I really enjoy seeing what you work on when you're not at school.